So hi everyone, I hope you are doing well, especially in such circumstances and according to what the Ministry of Health decided. Precisely speaking about staying at home, I would like you to take this opportunity to give importance to your study, to start preparing for your back exam from now, and to try to go over your lessons, especially those you feel yourself weak at. We talked about go over your lessons, right? To master them, to do your best in order to deal with them, okay? This is to go over your lessons. Great. Today we are going to start our first lesson online, and please, I'd like you to be responsible, serious, and totally devoted. Which means, if you are given a task to do, you do it. You stop the video, do the task, and then check your answers once you have finished. In case you didn't understand, you can repeat the video or ask via your class WhatsApp groups. Okay? Before we start, I'd like to discuss with you this term, which is quarantine. Quarantine. What do you think the meaning of quarantine is? And are you familiar with this word? Well, I can tell you that quarantine is applied in different countries in the world right now in this phenomena that the whole world suffers from, COVID-19. It is applied in Spain, Italy, China, Iran, and many other countries. And it is somehow applied in Morocco as well. Great. So at least it is related to health, alright? Health field. We can say that quarantine is a sanitary measure to prevent the spread of a contagious disease. Is a sanitary measure to prevent the spread of a contagious disease. Sanitary means related to health, okay? Measure. So it's a measure which is related to health to prevent, which means to avoid, the spread, انتشار in Arabic, of a contagious. Contagious, it means it's a disease which is easily transmitted from one person to another. Okay? سريع الانتشار أو معدي. Contagious. So, is a sanitary measure to prevent the spread of a contagious disease. Okay? So quarantine. الحجر الصحي. I'd like you to write it down on the vocabulary spot on the back of your copybook. Okay? And now, let's move on to our lesson. As you know, we have dealt with so far with 7 units, starting from unit number 1, which was about the gifts of youth, to unit number 7, which was about citizenship. We dealt with all the lessons here, okay, we have explained them, and so on and so forth. Today we are going to start a new unit, which its theme is international organizations. International organizations. Beforehand, we talked about NGOs that stand for. Can anyone tell me? Yes, I guess some of you figured out the meaning of or what NGO stands for. So, you are familiar with this one. So it's a non-governmental organizations. Non-governmental organizations. So there is that word there, organization. What is organization? Alright, we can say that organization means somehow an association, or simply speaking, it stands for a group of people that serve a shared purpose. Okay, it's a group of people that serve a shared purpose. And international contains that word national. You are familiar with that one, okay? So what is the difference between national and international? Great. So what is the difference between national and international is that national it's on the level of a country, okay? On the level of a country, while international is on the level of the whole world, okay? Let's understand it in this way. National in the level of a country, international is in the level of the whole world, many countries, okay? Great. So based on this, we can come out with a simple definition of what an international organization. And we can say it's a group of people serving a shared interest or purpose in the level of a whole world or of the whole world. Okay? Let's understand it this way. Great. So an international organization is an organization with an international membership. Let's start with international membership. We said that international is in the level of the whole world, and the membership is derived from the word members, member, okay? Which means that these organizations have members from different parts of the world. International membership, members from different parts of the world. Moving on to international scope. So an international organization is an organization with an international membership, an international scope. Scope means here interest or objective, which means their purpose in the level of the whole world, without preferences or without discrimination between countries, and so on. And the last part is international presence. That means they are located everywhere in the world. So international membership, members anywhere, everywhere actually. International scope, okay, interests, objectives, purposes are right in the whole world level. And international presence, that means they are located everywhere in the world. Great. For example, we can find branches of UNICEF everywhere in the world, and that's an example of international presence. So bear it in mind. Alright, now I'd like you to provide me with examples of international organizations, you know. Something like the one I have mentioned beforehand, UNICEF. Okay, so take 1 minute and think about different international organizations that you know. All right. Great. Now let's compare your lists with these organizations over here. Is there anything that matches what you wrote down? For example, here we have ActionAid, Oxfam. We have, for example, ICRC, Red Cross, CARE, Save Children, Médecins Sans Frontières, Amnesty International, Compassion, World Vision, and so on and so forth. So, if nothing matches what you've got in this slide, let's try this one. I think there are something, alright, that matches what you have written. For example, here we have UNICEF, Amnesty, TI, UNESCO, FAO, World Health Organization, ICRC. Let's talk, for example, about World Health Organization. For example, who is providing us with statistics of people who are infected with COVID-19 or coronavirus? Absolutely, it's the World Health Organization, and it's the most credible source of health news and statistics. Okay? Great, and we are going to talk about its interests later on. First, let's start with this task. Here you have a couple of acronyms. What you are going to do is to provide, or to tell me actually, what do the following acronyms stand for. Alright? You are going to take 2 minutes to do this task, and you are going to stop the video in 3 and resume it once you have finished. So 1, 2, 3. Stop the video and do your exercise. Alright, the answers are The first one, it's a United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization. United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organizations. And please bear in mind, whenever you have an organization that starts with UN, that means most of the time it's United Nations, okay? So for the three first acronyms, it's United Nations, United Nations, and United Nations. The first one, we have dealt with it. Now let's move to the next one, which is about United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. UNICEF, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. Let's move on to the next one. UNHCR, or UNHCR exactly. So it's United Nations of the High Commissioner for Refugees. What do we mean by refugees? Refugees, for example, this one is defending, for example, the rights or right of refugees in the level of the whole world. So refugees are in Arabic لاجئون, okay, like Syrian, like different countries that suffer from particular problems, especially war. Alright, so refugees, remember this one. Refugees, it's لاجئون. Refugees, actually, لاجئون. WHO, the WHO, it's of course, it's the World Health Organization. WHO, World Health Organization. FAO stands for Food and Agriculture Organization. Food and Agriculture Organization. There is the word agriculture, food, so you might find out by yourselves what are the interests of this organization. ICRC, exactly, it's International Committee of the Red Cross. The next one, TI, Transparency International. Transparency International. This organization actually, for example, it focuses for fighting corruption, especially in elections, right? And political stuff. Transparency International. Transparency International. The last one is AI, that stands for Amnesty International. Amnesty International. We are going to talk about the interests of each of these organizations later on. Good. Now let's move to the interests of these organizations. Here you have a couple of organizations, and below you have their interests. What you are going to do is exactly to match the organizations with their interests. Again, in 3, you stop the video. You have 2 minutes to do this exercise. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. You stop the video. The answers are as follows. So, let's start, for example, with the first one. Fighting epidemics around the world. Before we start correcting and tell which organization is this, fighting epidemics. You are familiar with the word fighting, so epidemics. What are epidemics? Alright, it's an epidemic. It's a disease, okay, or an illness, especially it's a disease that a particular country suffer from. For example, imagine that this coronavirus stayed in China. In that case, we are going to call it epidemic. It's an epidemic, alright? But now, as it started spreading over the whole world, we are not talking anymore about epidemics. We are talking about pandemic. Pandemic, okay? Epidemic, it's a disease which is in a particular country. Pandemic, it's a disease which are spread in the whole world. Okay, many countries suffer from the same disease. In this case, we call it pandemic. So again, you write it down in your vocabulary spot. So fighting epidemics around the world, what do you think is the organization? Which interest is this one? So it's the World Health Organization. I'm talking about epidemics, diseases, health. So the World Health Organization. Moving on, number 2, providing medical care during disasters. For example, if there are wars, if there are disasters like earthquakes, volcano, or whatever, or for example tornadoes or whatever, okay? Any disaster that comes to your mind, you name it. So providing medical care during disasters. Which organization do you think is this? It's exactly Doctors Without Frontiers, okay? Or Médecins Sans Frontières. Médecins Sans Frontières. Or as we say in Arabic, أطباء بلا حدود. You are familiar with this one, I think. أطباء بلا حدود. Number 3, eliminating poverty and famine. We talked about famine, alright? Do you still remember about drought? When there is drought, there is no agriculture. When there is no agriculture, there is no food. When there is no food, people will suffer from famine. Exactly, okay? So famine. So which organization is dealing with eliminating poverty and famine? What do you think? Alright, it's Oxfam. I don't know from where the sound came, but anyway, it's Oxfam, okay? It's Oxfam who is dealing with poverty and famine in the whole world. Safeguarding human rights. Safeguarding human rights. It's Amnesty International, caring for refugees, caring for refugees. So refugees, we have explained this. Who is caring for refugees? Alright, it's United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. The last one, regulating business exchange in the world. This is the most difficult one to answer, right? Okay, we still have only one and one interest. That means it's a World Trade Organization. There is business, there is money, there is buying and selling. So we are talking about trading, alright? So it's a World Trade Organization. Okay, correct your mistakes if you have any. And please, those who have got no mistakes, please, you tell me that in the WhatsApp groups, okay? Great, now let's move. After you finished your correction, let's talk about some pictures. Here we have the first one. What is this one? Okay, don't be racist, please, okay? I know they are all black, alright? Maybe it's an African country, but still, let's focus on the picture. What does this one refer to? It's court, exactly. It's a court. Court in Arabic, it's a محكمة, alright? Moving on. What is this one? We, the people of the United Nations, determined that we need to do this, and that, and we won't never, for example, break this promise or this agreement. So in this case, we are talking about a charter, okay? Charter. Charter, it's, for example, an agreement among a group of people, all right, about a particular, all right, about particular principles or particular rules, for example, okay? We can say this. So, an agreement of a group of people about particular rules or principles. And these people can be, for example, members of organizations before creating or founding this organization, members of an association, or even they can be countries, all right? Or they can be decision makers in a particular country, right? So different countries or in the same country, okay? Decision makers of the same country. But bear in mind that it's just members of organizations, okay? It's an agreement of members of organizations about principles and rules. Okay, this is a charter. In Arabic, it's الميثاق. الميثاق. Okay, great. Moving on. So, speaking about charter, agreement between people, agreement between different countries. All right. What about if we have different countries that have conflicts between them, but still they are dealing with each other, they are agree about particular things? So in this case we are talking about, all right, you tell me, what is it? Okay, take your time. So what do you think is it? No, don't tell me it's hypocrisy. It's not hypocrisy actually. It's not hypocrisy. All right, it's hypocrisy. And once the hypocrisy, it's between hypocrisy. Are you familiar with this one? Hypocrisy, l'hypocrite. It's nifaq. Okay. So once hypocrisy is between countries, it is called diplomacy. Right? So bear it in mind. It's diplomacy, not hypocrisy, please. Great. Now, what you are going to do is to match the following words to their definitions. You have a couple of words: charter, court, sanctions, diplomacy, bilateral, and violation. Alright, and you have here from 1 to 6 are their definitions. You take again 3 minutes, I think, or 2 minutes will be enough. 2 minutes, exactly 2 minutes will be enough to answer this one. Again in 3, 1, 2, 3. You stop the video and you do your exercise. Alright, after you finish your exercise, now let's do the correction. So starting with the first one, what is a charter? We have explained this. So you have no excuse to make a mistake. Charter exactly, so written statements of the main functions and principles of an organization. We can replace organization with the country. We can replace it with, for example, about a group of countries, okay? So written statements of the main functions, it means the way they work, and principles of an organization. Great, a court is, it's number 3, a body of people who look into and resolve conflicts between people. Sanctions. What are sanctions? It's a number 2, measures taken by the United Nations to force a state to conform to an international agreement. Sanctions in Arabic, it's العقوبات. Okay? For example, speaking about Iran, when the country refused, for example, to obey for the United States and to stop, for example, producing uranium and, for example, let's say nuclear weapons. Alright, as let's say, for example, as a reflect. No, it's not a reflect. As a reflection to this. Okay, let's say that the United States reflected to this by, for example, applying sanctions against Iran. Okay, sanctions, economic, or yes, most of the time it's economic sanctions. Moving on to the next one, diplomacy. Diplomacy, it's number 1, management of the relations between countries. Please don't say hypocrisy again, it's diplomacy, okay? So management of relations between countries, even they have conflicts between them. Next one, bilateral. Bilateral is like bicycle, like biceps for those who are going to the gym. So bilateral, anything that starts with bi, that means 2 things. Okay, bicycle we use, alright, 2 legs to use it. Okay, and we are bipedal creatures. Alright, bipedal, that means we walk on 2 feet. And bilateral, it means they contain two things. What are they? So, or biceps. Speaking first about biceps. Biceps, it means there are two muscles there, okay? Biceps. So bilateral, it's involving or relating to two countries. Involving or relating two countries. Alright, this is bilateral. The last one, violation. Violation, it's disrespect, disobedience. Most of the time it's a disobedience or refusal to comply with the law. For example, if I told you to stop the video and do the exercise, but you didn't stop the video and you kept watching it to see the correction, and in that case you are cheating, so you violated my rules. Okay, you violated, you didn't respect what I told you, you disobeyed me, right? You disobeyed me. Alright, so correct your mistakes if you have any. Alright, as we always deal with items, we are going to put them in context. Here you have a small paragraph. It represents the foundation of United Nations. You are going to take 3 minutes to fill the gaps with the appropriate word. We have explained all these words, so go on and you do your exercise. Again, you take 3 minutes, and in 3 you are going to stop the video and do the exercise. Here you have the correction. So let's correct right now. This is the foundation of the United Nations, الأمم المتحدة. The United Nations was established or found in the 40s to maintain international peace and security. According to its charter, member states are supposed to refrain from the use of force against other member states. This document also calls on countries to settle bilateral disputes by peaceful means. That is to say, international discords should be resolved by diplomacy and negotiations. Any violation, any disobedience of this principle can result in severe economic and political sanctions. Most of the time are economics. Nobody can live without money. So economic and political sanctions. The United Nations has a court in The Hague كما تسمى محكمة لاهاي في هولندا, Netherlands, The Hague, Holland, whose function is to look into conflicts between countries. So, when there is a conflict between one country and the other, do you go, for example, to a simple and normal court? No, there is only one court in the world, as I know, that deals with conflicts between countries, okay, and which is called the Hague, or the Hague. It's the Hague, actually. Alright, so this is for today. You have an assignment to do, okay, and that's exactly what you are going to share with me via WhatsApp groups. Alright. Okay, the assignment is, if you have the power, imagine that you have the power to make an international organization, what would its goals be? Alright, what would be its goals, its interests? Okay, so what would its goals be? Choose a name and design a logo for your organization. Please be creative. Alright. Okay, so that's it for today. If you have any difficulty, you didn't understand something, then please contact me, alright, via WhatsApp groups. And if you don't belong to any of my classes, then please, you have comments below, you ask, and if I have time, I will try my best to answer you. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video, or let's call it the next session. Thank you so much.